The Grand Assembly Hall was the largest structure ever built by living beings. It floated at the center of known space, a station so big that small moons could fit inside it. Representatives from 347 species sat in their designated sections, each one watching the central platform with nervous eyes. Ambassador Laura stood alone in the human section. She was a small woman with gray hair and calm eyes. She had spent 20 years building friendships with alien species, learning their languages, understanding their fears. Today, she could feel all that were crumbling around her. High Arbiter Eth rose from his throne. He was a being that stood 3 meters tall. His black shell gleamed under the lights, and his 4 arms spread wide as he addressed the assembly. "The vote is complete," Eth announced. His voice echoed through translation devices in every language. 346 species have agreed. Humanity must be contained. Laura felt her heart drop, but her face showed nothing. She had trained for moments like this. "The terms are as follows," Eth continued. "All human colonies will be disbanded. All human warships will be surrendered. Earth will accept protective supervision from the Council. Humans will not leave their home system without permission." Murmurs spread through the hall. Some species looked uncomfortable. Others nodded with satisfaction. Laura pressed the button on her podium. "I request the right to speak." Eth's compound eyes turned toward her. "The human representative may speak." Laura stood straight. "What are the charges against humanity? What crime have we committed?" "Crime?" Eth made a sound that might have been laughter. "You misunderstand, Ambassador. This is not punishment. This is prevention." "Prevention of what?" The High Arbiter gestured, and holographic images appeared above the central platform. Laura recognized the footage immediately. The first clip showed human soldiers fighting against slavers. The humans were outnumbered, but they refused to retreat. They were protecting a group of children who had been captured for sale. "Excessive aggression," Eth said. "They were willing to negotiate. Your soldiers chose violence." "They chose to save children from slavery," Laura replied. The next clip showed a human medical ship refusing to leave a war zone. Council orders had demanded all neutral vessels withdraw. The human ship stayed, treating wounded from both sides of the conflict. "Defiance of Council authority," Eth said. "Defiance of an order to let innocent people die," Laura corrected. More clips played. Humans defending weaker species. Humans refusing to abandon allies. Humans fighting battles they could not win because running away meant leaving others to suffer. "Do you see the pattern?" Eth asked the assembly. "Humans do not calculate. They do not weigh costs against benefits. They act on emotion. They act on principle. They are unpredictable." Laura looked around the hall. She saw fear in alien eyes, not fear of human weapons or human strength, fear of something they could not understand. "You are afraid," she said slowly, "because we do what is right instead of what is safe." Eth slammed one of his arms against his podium. "We are afraid because you cannot be controlled. Every other species learns to compromise. Every other species learns that survival requires cooperation with the Council. But humans would rather die than bend. Is that not something to admire?" "It is something to fear." Eth's voice was cold. "Today you save children from slavers. Tomorrow you decide the Council itself is unjust. What then? Do you save the galaxy from us?" Silence fell over the assembly. Laura understood now. This was never about what humanity had done. It was about what humanity might do. The Council had ruled for 10,000 years because every species eventually submitted. Humans were the first to look at the rules and ask why. "You have 7 days," Eth said. "Return to Earth. Convince your leaders to accept our terms peacefully. If you do not, the combined fleets of 200 species will enforce compliance. This session is concluded." The assembly began to disperse. Laura remained at her podium, watching as alien representatives filed out. Some avoided her eyes. A few looked at her with something like sympathy. Most looked relieved that the problem was finally being addressed. One figure approached her section. Was a traitor, her blue skin pale under the artificial lights. She had been doing business with humans for 30 years. "I am sorry," whispered. "I voted against the measure, but my voice meant nothing." "One vote," Laura said. "One species out of 347. There were others who hesitated, but Eth convinced them. He showed them projections, models of what might happen if humans continued to grow in power. large eyes were wet. He made them believe you would conquer us all. Laura shook her head. We never wanted to conquer anyone. I know, but fear does not listen to truth, glanced around nervously. Be careful, Ambassador. The Council has already positioned fleets near your colonies. They expect you to fight. And if we do not? Then they will find another reason. They need humanity contained, Laura. You represent everything they fear. Choice, principle, the idea that some things matter more than survival. Touched Laura's hand briefly. Whatever happens, know that some of us remember the children your soldiers saved. My niece was among them. Then she was gone, disappearing into the crowd. Laura stood alone in the empty hall for a long time. She thought about 20 years of work. The message reached Earth in 6 hours. By the 7th hour, every government leader on the planet had read it. By the 8th hour, the United Nations Emergency Council was in session. Secretary General Daniel Park sat at the head of a long table. He was a quiet man with tired eyes and steady hands. He had risen through the ranks not by shouting or demanding, but by listening. Today, he needed to listen more carefully than ever. Read it again, he said. His aide cleared her throat. The Council demands the following: all human warships to be surrendered within 30 days. All colonies outside the solar system to be evacuated within 90 days. Earth to accept a permanent Council monitoring station. All human space travel to require Council approval. The room was silent. General Maria Santos leaned forward. She was the head of Earth's combined defense forces, a woman who had fought in 3 wars and lost friends in all of them. Her face was hard, but her voice was controlled. They want us to become prisoners on our own planet, she said. They want us to become safe, Park replied. There is no safety in submission. Santos pulled up a holographic display. I have run the numbers, Secretary General. The Council can field over 50,000 warships. We have 400. They have species with 1,000 years more technological advancement. Their weapons can crack planets. Ours can barely scratch their shields. So we cannot win, Park said. Conventional war. No, we cannot win a conventional war. A new voice spoke from the far end of the table. Then perhaps we should not fight a conventional war. Everyone turned to look at Dr. Cole. He was a thin man with messy hair and glasses that kept sliding down his nose. He led the research team at Station on the Moon. Most of the Council considered him a dreamer. Today, they were ready to listen to dreams. Explain, Park said. Cole stood and walked to the display. For 15 years, my team has been working on something called Project Lighthouse. The Council does not know about it. No one outside this room knows about it. What does it do? Santos asked. It allows instant communication across any distance. No delay, no interference. One message broadcast simultaneously to every corner of the galaxy. Santos frowned. How does that help us? We need weapons, not radios. Do we? Cole looked around the table. The Council is not attacking us because we are strong. They are attacking us because they are afraid of what we represent, afraid of ideas spreading. Park understood. You want to spread those ideas. The Council controls information. They control what species hear about each other. Most beings in the galaxy have never met a human. They only know what the Council tells them. Cole's eyes were bright. But what if they could see us? What if they could see who we really are? Santos shook her head. Pretty words will not stop warships. No, but they might stop the people inside those warships from following orders. Cole turned to Park. Secretary General, the Council is not a single enemy. It is 346 species, each with their own doubts, their own fears, their own sense of right and wrong. Eth convinced them to vote against us by showing them carefully selected footage. What if we showed them everything? The room fell silent again. Park stood and walked to the window. Outside, the city of Geneva spread beneath a gray sky. 8 billion people lived on this planet. Millions more lived on colonies that the Council wanted to destroy. All of them were waiting for him to decide their fate. If we fight, he said slowly, we die. If we surrender, we lose everything that makes us who we are. He turned back to face the room. There must be a third option. There is, Cole said. We show them. We show the entire galaxy exactly what humanity is, not through propaganda, not through lies, through truth. And if they still choose to destroy us? Cole did not hesitate. Then at least they will know what they destroyed, and they will have to live with that knowledge forever. Park nodded slowly. General Santos, can your fleet hold them long enough for Project Lighthouse to work? Santos was quiet for a moment, then she straightened in her chair. My people will hold for as long as it takes. Then we have our answer. Park walked back to the table. We will not surrender, but we will not strike first either. We will defend ourselves and we will tell our story. Let the galaxy decide what kind of species we are. He pressed a button on the table. A recording light blinked on. This message is for the Galactic Council and all species within range. My name is Daniel Park, Secretary General of Earth. We have received your demands. We have considered them carefully, and we must decline. He paused, choosing his next words with care. Colony was a farming world on the edge of human space. 2 million people lived there, growing food in soil that their grandparents had made fertile. It was a quiet place, far from politics, far from war. It was also the first target. Governor Elizabeth Monroe stood in her office and watched the sky turn dark with ships. 500 warships dropped out of faster-than-light travel, their hulls blocking the sun. The fleet had arrived. Governor, her aide's voice was shaking. Fleet Commander Eth is broadcasting. Put him through. The holographic image of appeared. Eth was smaller than Eth, but carried himself with the confidence of a being who had never lost a battle. Governor Monroe, he said, I am here to accept your peaceful surrender, disable your defenses, and instruct your population to gather at the designated evacuation points. You have 1 hour. Elizabeth looked at him calmly. 500 ships for a farming colony? Are you lost, Commander? Do you need directions? Eth's compound eyes flickered with confusion. This was not the response he expected. I advise you not to test my patience, Governor. Your world is surrounded. Your defense force is insignificant. There is no logical reason to resist. Logic, Elizabeth repeated. You came here expecting logic, she smiled. You clearly have not met many humans. She cut the transmission. Lieutenant Commander was 28 years old. He had joined the defense force to pay for his education, never expecting to actually fight. Now he stood on the bridge of the frigate Hope and looked at 500 enemy warships. He had 3 ships, 3 small frigates against an armada. Sir, his tactical officer said, they are targeting our orbital platforms. Nodded, he had already accepted that he was going to die today. The only question was how. All ships, he broadcast. This is Lieutenant Commander, we cannot win this battle. We all know that, but there are 2 million people on that planet. Families, children, they are counting on us to buy them time. He paused, his hands were shaking, so he gripped the arms of his chair. We fight not because we can win, because it is right. All ships engage at will. The 3 frigates moved forward. Eth watched with interest as the tiny human ships approached. He admired their courage in an academic way, but courage without power was simply a different kind of death. Destroy them, he ordered. His fleet opened fire. The first frigate, the Defiance, took 17 hits and broke apart, watched his friends die in a flash of light. Target their lead destroyer, he ordered. Everything we have. Hope and Faith, the 2 remaining frigates, unleashed their weapons. The destroyer's shields flickered and failed. A moment later, it exploded. Eth blinked, 1 ship destroyed. That was unexpected. The human frigates dove into an asteroid field, using the rocks as cover. They emerged behind a cluster of cruisers and fired again. 2 more ships fell. They are using the terrain, his tactical officer reported. Our targeting systems cannot track them through the debris. Then clear the debris, Eth snapped. I want those ships destroyed. The battle lasted 40 minutes. The frigate Faith was caught in a crossfire and destroyed. Found himself alone, his ship damaged, his crew bleeding. Sir, his navigator whispered, we cannot run, engines are gone. Looked at the main screen. The flagship was directly ahead. If he could reach it, if he could do enough damage, maybe it would matter. Set collision course, he said. Hope accelerated toward the flagship. Weapons tore at the small ship, but it kept coming. Closer, closer. Then something unexpected happened. A civilian transport appeared on sensors, then another, then a dozen more. The colonists were launching their ships, not to escape, to fight. This is cargo vessel Sunshine, a voice crackled over the radio. We see you, Hope, we are coming. Negative, shouted. Fall back, these are warships. Our children are down there, the voice replied. You think we are going to let you fight alone? The civilian ships were not armed. They were not fast. They were not designed for war. But they flew directly at the fleet, placing themselves between the warships and the planet. Eth stared at his display. What are they doing? His tactical officer's voice was uncertain. They appear to be ramming us, Commander. They are civilians. They have families aboard. Yes, Commander. The first transport hit a cruiser at full speed. Both ships vanished in a ball of fire. Then another transport hit another warship, and another. Eth felt something he had not felt in 300 years of military service. He felt disturbed. Commander, his aide said quietly, they are not trying to win. They know they cannot win. They are dying to protect their colony. I can see that. Sir, I have served with you for 60 years. I have never seen anything like this. Neither had Eth. In all his centuries of warfare, he had never watched civilians choose certain death over surrender. He had conquered 100 worlds, and every single one had submitted when defeat was obvious. These humans were different. Ship finally reached the flagship. The collision did not destroy it, but it tore a hole in the hull. Emergency systems sealed the breach, but the message was clear. Fell 2 hours later. The colony was captured, the survivors rounded up for processing. Eth stood in Governor Monroe's office and looked out at the burning fields. Why, he asked her. She was in restraints, but her eyes were steady. You knew you could not win. Why did you fight? Elizabeth looked at him. Because our children were watching, because someday they will have to make the same choice, and we wanted them to know what the right answer looks like. Eth did not respond. He simply walked away. That night, footage of the battle spread across the galaxy, civilians ramming warships, a young officer flying into certain death, a governor who smiled in the face of defeat. And for the first time, beings across the galaxy began to ask questions. What kind of species fights like this? The guards expected hatred from their prisoners. They expected resistance, sabotage, violence. Instead, they found something that confused them deeply. Governor Elizabeth Monroe organized the surviving colonists. They set up medical stations. They shared their food rations. When a young soldier was injured by falling debris, human doctors treated him without hesitation. Eth watched the reports with growing unease. Commander, his aide reported, the prisoners are not behaving normally. Define normally. They should be hostile, angry. Instead, they are, the aide struggled for words. They are being kind. One of our soldiers fell ill from a local bacteria. The humans gave him medicine from their own supplies. Why would they do that? I do not know, Commander. Eth visited the prisoner compound himself. He found Elizabeth Monroe teaching children how to play a human game called chess. The children were laughing. Their parents watched nervously, unsure what to think. You confuse me, Eth said. Elizabeth looked up. Good. Confusion is the first step toward understanding. We conquered your world. We killed your people. Yes, and you are still people. She moved a piece on the board. Your soldiers are young. They are afraid. They did not choose this war. Why would I hate them for following orders? Because that is what conquered species do. Then perhaps we are not like other species. Across the galaxy, the footage from was spreading faster than the Council could contain it. Young beings on 100 worlds watched humans sacrifice themselves for their neighbors. They watched civilians fly unarmed ships into warships. They watched prisoners treat their captors with dignity. Questions began to form, questions that had not been asked in 10,000 years of Council rule. On the gathered a small group of traders and diplomats. They met in secret, speaking in whispers. The Council lied to us, one of them said. They showed us humans attacking slavers and called it aggression. They showed us humans saving children and called it defiance. What can we do? Another asked. If we speak against the Council, we will be punished. Thought carefully. We are not the only species with doubts. I have contacts among they are all asking the same questions. We need to find each other. And then what? Then we wait for the right moment. Ambassador Laura had not returned to Earth. She remained on a neutral station, working desperately to build connections. Every day brought new secret messages. Species that officially supported the war but privately questioned it. Individuals who had seen the footage from and could not forget it. She was meeting with a diplomat when the message arrived from Dr. Cole. Project Lighthouse is ready, the message said. We need something to broadcast. Laura smiled. I think I know exactly what to send. Admiral Shaw stood on the bridge of the Endurance, humanity's last flagship. His fleet was gathered near Saturn, 300 ships against the thousands that were coming. They had been fighting a retreat for weeks, losing vessels at every engagement. Admiral, his tactical officer said, the Council fleet will reach us in 6 hours, over 2,000 ships. Shaw nodded. He had known this moment would come, the final battle, the end of everything. But something in him refused to despair. Open a channel, he said. All frequencies, I want everyone to hear this. His communications officer hesitated. Sir, the Council will hear too. Good, I want them to hear. The channel opened. Shaw stood straight and spoke clearly. This is Admiral Shaw of the Earth Defense Forces. I am speaking to everyone who can hear my voice. Human, everyone. He paused, gathering his thoughts. In 6 hours, we will fight the largest battle in human history. We are outnumbered. We will probably lose. Across the galaxy, beings stopped what they were doing to listen. But I am not broadcasting to ask for help. I am not broadcasting to beg for mercy. I am broadcasting because I want you to know something. His voice grew stronger. We know you are afraid of us. The Council told you we are dangerous. They told you we are unpredictable. They told you we cannot be controlled. And you know what? They are right. On Council warships, crews exchanged uncertain glances. We are dangerous. We are dangerous because we believe some things are worth dying for. We are dangerous because we will not abandon our friends. We are dangerous because we would rather die free than live as slaves. Governor Monroe, listening from her prison, smiled. But we are not your enemies. We have never wanted to conquer you. We have never wanted to rule over you. We just want to live, to grow, to become the best version of ourselves. Admiral Shaw looked directly into the recording device. In 6 hours, the Council fleet will try to destroy us. My people will fight. Many of us will die. But before we do, I want to make you an offer. The galaxy held its breath. Come and see us, not as enemies, not as conquerors. Come and see who we really are, talk to our children, share a meal with our families. See the worlds we have built, the art we have created, the dreams we still hold. His voice softened. And then decide for yourself. Are we monsters, or are we just people trying to find our way in a universe that does not understand us? He ended the broadcast. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then, slowly, responses began coming in. Not from governments, not from officials, from individuals, from ordinary beings who had heard his words and felt something stir inside them. 2,000 warships surrounded Earth. The blue planet floated in darkness, small and fragile against the vast armada that had come to destroy it. High Arbiter Eth stood on his flagship and felt satisfied. The war was almost over. All ships report ready, his aide announced. We await your command. Eth looked at Earth through the viewport. 8 billion lives, the last stronghold of humanity. Once this world fell, the threat would be eliminated forever. Begin the attack, he ordered. But before his ships could fire, something happened. Every screen on every ship in the galaxy flickered. Every communication device activated. Every being with access to technology suddenly received the same transmission. Project Lighthouse had activated. The broadcast did not contain propaganda. It did not contain speeches or arguments. It contained truth. Footage played across 1 billion screens. Human soldiers carrying wounded enemy combatants to safety. Human doctors working through the night to save alien children. Human civilians sharing their last food with strangers from distant stars. The footage from Played, Young flying his damaged ship towards certain death. Civilian transports ramming warships to protect their families. Governor Monroe teaching chess to children in her prison. But there was more, things the Council had hidden, things they had hoped no one would ever see. A human colony ship, discovering a vessel stranded in deep space. Instead of leaving them to die, the humans shared their supplies and towed them to safety. The rescue took 3 months and nearly killed the human crew, but they refused to abandon strangers. A human research station, finding evidence of an ancient plague on a dead world. Instead of using it as a weapon, they destroyed it and shared their findings with the Council. The knowledge could have given humanity an advantage in any war. They gave it away freely. a human soldier standing over a defeated enemy who had tried to kill him moments before. Instead of taking revenge, the soldier offered his hand and helped the enemy stand. "We are not enemies anymore," the soldier said. "The fighting is over." Story after story played. Moment after moment of humans choosing kindness over cruelty, mercy over revenge, hope over fear. On Council warships, crews watched in silence. Many had never met a human. They had only known what they were told. Now they were seeing something different. Then a new face appeared on every screen. A small face, a child. She was no more than 10 years old. Her name was, and she had been on when the invasion happened. Her father had been a soldier, wounded in the fighting. "My name is," she said. Her voice was small but clear. "I want to tell you what happened to my father." She took a breath. "He was hurt very badly. The human doctors did not have to help him. We were the enemy. We came to take their homes, but they helped him anyway. They stayed up all night. They used their own medicine. They saved his life." Tears rolled down her small face. "I asked one of the doctors why. She said that every life matters. She said that hate only creates more hate. She said that the war was not my father's fault and he deserved to live." Looked directly into the recording. "I do not understand why we are fighting these people. They saved my father when they could have let him die. They were kind to me when they could have been cruel. I am just a child, but I know this is wrong." Her voice grew stronger. Please stop hurting them. They are not monsters, they are good. I have seen it myself." The broadcast ended. For a long moment, the galaxy was silent. Then on Ed's flagship, something unprecedented happened. A young officer stood up from his station. "I will not fire," he said. "I will not kill people who save children." Another officer stood, then another. Across the fleet, crew members began refusing orders. Ed watched in disbelief. "This is mutiny, this is treason." "This is conscience," his aide said quietly. She removed her rank insignia and placed it on the console. "I am sorry, High Arbiter, but some orders should not be followed." The same scene played out across 2,000 ships. Weapons powered down. Targeting systems went offline. Captains who ordered attacks found their crews refusing to comply. On other worlds, the response was even stronger, and her secret network revealed themselves, broadcasting their support for humanity, the government from the Council Alliance. They demanded an immediate ceasefire. Eth realized he was watching the end of everything he had built. 10,000 years of Council authority crumbling in a single day. He opened a channel to Earth. Admiral Shaw appeared on his screen. The human looked tired but unbroken. "High Arbiter," Shaw said, "your fleet has stopped firing. Does this mean the war is over?" Eth was silent for a long moment. He thought about all the projections, all the models, all the fears that had driven him to this point. Humans were dangerous. That had always been true. But he had misunderstood the nature of the danger. "I was afraid of the wrong thing," Eth said slowly. "I thought you would conquer us with weapons. Instead, you conquered us with compassion." Shaw shook his head. "We did not conquer anyone, we just showed you who we are." And that was enough. The war ended without a final battle. The Council fleet. Negotiations began immediately. 1 year later, the Grand Assembly Hall looked different. There was a new section now, right at the center. Ambassador Laura sat there, surrounded by representatives from 348 species. The number had grown. High Arbiter Eth approached her podium. He moved slowly now, aged by the weight of his mistakes. "Ambassador," he said formally, "on behalf of the Galactic Council, I offer humanity a full apology and a permanent seat among us." Laura stood. She thought about everything that had happened. The fear, the war, the sacrifice, and the strange, beautiful way it had ended. "We accept," she said, "not as conquerors, not as victims, as partners." She looked around the hall at hundreds of alien faces. Some still looked uncertain. Some still held fear in their eyes, but many more held something new, curiosity, hope, the first fragile beginnings of trust. "You asked what makes humanity dangerous," Laura said. "Now you know the answer. We are dangerous because we believe in something. We believe that kindness is stronger than cruelty. We believe that mercy is braver than revenge. We believe that every life matters, even the lives of those who call themselves our enemies." She smiled. "That is what you should fear about us. Not our weapons, not our ships. Our stubborn, foolish, unshakable faith that the universe can be better than it is. The hall was silent. Then slowly applause began, first from the section. Then the then-species Laura had never met, had never heard of, joining in recognition of something they had finally understood. Outside the station, the stars burned cold and distant. The galaxy was vast and ancient, full of dangers and mysteries that no species had yet solved. But something had changed, something fundamental. A small blue planet had faced the combined might of galactic civilization and won, not through force, but through the simple, revolutionary act of being kind. This changes everything, Laura thought. And for the first time in 10,000 years, the galaxy began to believe it too. We are listening, the messages said. We are watching, we want to understand. Project Lighthouse was ready, the truth was about to spread, and everything was about to change. What kind of species would rather die than submit? And most importantly, are we sure they are the enemy? You ask us to give up our ships, our colonies, our freedom. You ask us to trust a council that has already decided we are too dangerous to exist. You ask us to become prisoners in our own home. His voice grew stronger. We will not do this, not because we want war, not because we think we can win, but because there are some things more important than survival. Dignity, freedom, the right to choose who we want to be. He looked directly into the recording device. We know you are afraid of us, we understand, but we are not your enemy, we never were. If you want our freedom, come and take it. But know this, every human who falls will fall defending something worth more than life itself, and every being in the galaxy will see exactly who we are. He thought about all the bridges she had built, all the friendships she had made. None of it mattered now. The council had made its decision, and no amount of diplomacy could change it. She walked to the communication center and composed a message. It was short, just 12 words, but she knew it would change everything. They have made their choice, now we make ours. She sent it to Earth and began the long journey home. Behind her, the Grand Assembly Hall continued its slow rotation through the stars, a monument to civilization that had just declared war on the one species that might have saved it. Ambassador Laura did not look back.